Now, with loops, think of having numbers, let's say from 1 to 10. How you're going to move from the first number to the 10th number. We're going to use the concept of loops. So that's the basic example I can give you. So a loop basically repeats a block of code until the condition becomes false, right? So for example, if you're moving from 1 to 10, the condition becomes false when you start going beyond 10. So there are three types of loops. The first one is everybody's favorite, that is a for loop. Second one is while loop. Third one is do while loop. A do while loop. Let's look at a for loop. So the for loop is everybody's favorite because it's simple to write and to remember. So here's the syntax. You have the keyword for, you open, then in this parenthesis, you have three things. First of all, you have to initialize, you have to set a boundary, then you have to increment. So that basically every loop has that portion, but then this one has it in one line. So for example, can I say for int I is equal to 1, then I less than or equal to 10, then I say I plus plus. So which is why I said everything is in one line. So you have initialization here, your boundary here, then you have your increment here. So increment means you are increasing by 1. So this I plus plus means I is equal to I plus 1. So it means you're adding 1 to I as you increment. So here, when you say C out I, and run your program, here is what you see. You traverse from 1 to 10, all right? You traverse from 1 to 10. So what you've done here is, like, let me just run you through again. You've initialized I because you cannot use I if you haven't initialized it, which is why you have to initialize it here. And you have to set a boundary. You say, okay, I is starting from 1, right? Then it has to move and move until it reaches where it is less than or equal to 10. So which means if it goes, if I becomes 11, this condition becomes false, then it terminates, right? Then I plus plus just signifies to say every time you find I to be true, where it is less than or equal to 10, you have to increment. So if I was, let's say 1, it prints it out, then it increments because it's within the boundary until it goes up to 9. So since when I is 9, it is still less than 10. So it's going to be printed out, then it's going to increment with I plus plus. Then when it reaches 10, it's going to check if I is less than or equal to 10. That is true. It will print it out again, then increment 1 by 1. Now what will happen here? Once it increments I becomes 11. When it becomes 11, it becomes false because 11 is not less than or equal to 10. So thereby terminating your program. So this is basically about for loop. Pretty much easy, everybody's favorite, right? Let's look at a while loop. Let's look at a while loop. The first thing you have to do is you have to initialize the variable outside. So we're going to have int, let me label it j, right? And by the way, this I or j can be labeled as anything. I is not a default word. So we just use I mostly to signify an increment, but you can label it anything. So let me use j here. I'm going to say j is equal to 1. Then I'll say while, open brackets, j is less than or equal to 10, then I'll say cout j. What I'll do here, I'll just add cout inline, just so I begin this portion of j in a different line. So let me just comment this code out. So I'll comment this code out from here up to here. Let me just check what we have. What we have so far is we have j has been initialized right now. There's a boundary. What we should have again is an increment. So j plus plus, right? J plus plus. So what's going to happen is, just like we were doing in this loop, it's going to be checking if j is within the boundary of j being less than or equal to 10. If that is true, it prints out the j, then comes to increment. When it reaches at 10, it's going to increment by 1, becoming 11. Then that will become false, and thereby terminating the program. So when I run my program here, it has to print 1 up to 10. There you go, 1 up to 10. Try another one, the last loop, before I explain the concept. So I'll again comment this one out. I'll comment this one out. Now so I'm going to say int, let's say, okay, let's say L is equal to what? 1. Now say do cout L plus plus, then wow L is less than or equal to 10. So again, this basically just gives the same output. So here's the difference between a while loop and a do while loop. So I'll do this. Let me just remove the comments. All right. So this is a for loop. This is a while loop. This is a do while loop. All right. Now, a do while loop executes at least once before checking the condition. Just as you can see right now, we're going to print out L before even checking if it's within the boundary. So even if I had, let's say, if I said while L is less than 0, it will still print out once, even if 1 is not less than 0, because it's a do while loop. It prints out what's there before checking if the condition is true. That's do while. Then for a while loop, it first checks the condition here. Then if the condition is true, it prints out, then it increments. That's the difference. Basically, even with this one as well, right? It does the same, checks the condition, then prints out. Now, the basic difference between for loop and all these other loops is that for these other loops, you have to initialize outside, right? Outside. But for for loop, you're initializing inside. So which means this I is still reusable even outside. I mean, this J and this L, they are still reusable even outside the code. But here, I is not reusable. So if you say here outside, say cout I, it becomes an error because I wasn't declared in this scope, right? But if you say cout J here, you won't give an error because it's outside the loop. So that's a basic difference between um, for loop, while loop, and do while. The next video, we're going to look at nested loops. Till then, peace.